welcome to Cafe de la Rosa. So this is our menu.
Thank you.
Alright.
Wow, all the food in the menu are unique. Most of them I've never seen before. This is our first time here. What is the menu based on?
Basically, it's based on the era in the US back in 1960s, before and after some, around that time. And it was actually an era of slavery and also segregation in the United States. So we are doing this concept to honor those who are in hardship during that time.
Oh, that's interesting. May I know what is soul food? Can you please tell us more about it?
Well, it has a long story, but since there's not much people today, I think I can tell you about it in details.
In 1619, a Dutch ship brought 20 African slaves into Jamestown, Virginia. Right after that, North Americans started to have slavery practiced throughout the whole 17th and 18th centuries. In fact, about 6 to 7 million African slaves were brought to America in 18th century. Slavery was a horrible and vicious practice. All these African slaves were mistreated very badly. They were dehumanized to the extent that they were even forced to work beyond their capabilities by their masters. However, when the slaves were transported to America, little did they know that these African slaves also brought their influence to America. Food is taken seriously, be it in the past as well as in present times, and there are many poems, books, writings, and even songs about it. Food and literature are equally important because it represents life, humanity, and culture. It is in a form of art because it teaches us what it means to be closer to nature and to survive as a human being. Various types of food represents different cultures in literature. Food has been one of the most vital aspects in literature because it traces one's identity and heritage. For example, recipes which are inherited by one's ancestors are preserved to show the efforts to retain the cultural identity. Same goes for the slaves which were brought to America. They brought along the cultural identity which did not perish amidst all the sufferings they went through. Since they were fantastic cooks, one of the most influential elements from the African slaves is culinary. Food is significant in the United States during the slavery and segregation era in the way that it becomes the symbols for the mistreatments of African slaves by the white people in America. It is also the main root of survival of the slave society. Southern dishes during American slavery period were called as soul food. This name was established in 1960s to honor the African slaves' contribution in the development of African American cuisines. Initially, African slaves mainly forced to do agriculture works such as in farms and plantations. They were introduced to natural foods such as okra and potato. They used food that were easily grown in the farm such as sweet potato, beets, kale, and other vegetables. From that, they created and improvised the recipes with what they had in the kitchen.
Well, has any of you watched 12 Years a Slave?
Of course, it's about a man who tries to escape slavery, right? Solomon, right?
Exactly. Solomon, not that. He's actually a free man, but then is sold into slavery. Yeah, 12 years.
I will not fall into despair. I will offer up my talents to Master Ford. I will keep myself hardy till freedom is opportune.
Oh, Ford is your opportunity.
The movie 12 Years a Slave is actually an adaptation of a novel with the same title. The novel uses slave narrative, which is a first-hand narration from people who served as slaves before the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1st January 1863. In the adapted movie, there are scenes that show what the slaves eat compared to what they cook for their masters. There is also The Secret Life of Bees, a novel was made into movie in 2008. The movie displays cooking styles of the African Americans during segregation era. Among African American cuisines shown in the movie are root beer, bologna sandwich, candlestick salad, chocolate cake, fried okra, caramel cake, and mac and cheese.
Hello, Miss Charlotte.
Rachel. We were expecting you next week.
The Help, another movie and novel that incorporates the era of racial segregation in America. It is one of the literary works that include food as one of the main subjects in both movie and novel. This movie portrays colored people in 1960s serving the white people as mates. At that time, slavery was actually over, but African Americans were still discriminated. Racism was at peak because the idea of segregation, and as mates, they also have to cook for their masters. Their cooking skills were shown in this movie as the greatest attribute. For example, the way Minnie makes her fried chicken and by frying them with melted Crisco vegetable fat instead of using ordinary oil is very much interesting.
Dough hinge. Crisco.
How pretty. Looks like frosting.
Got bags under your eyes.
After the end of slavery practice, things were still not that easy for the slaves who were freed. The most crucial problem was their economy, because they do not and never have any source of income during their time as slaves.
Can you please tell us more about the dishes? Like, what is candlestick salad? And what is an akara?
Akara is a deep-fried meal made from ground beans, pepper, and some other ingredients. It is a popular breakfast staple in Nigeria. Today, it is just the same as fritters, but akara uses black-eyed peas as the main ingredient. Candlestick salad tastes wonderful, usually served during holidays. It is a combination of several fruits such as strawberries, banana, pineapple with yogurt. Fruits are the main ingredients and become the main decoration for the dish itself. It truly looks appetizing and tastes awesome. Bologna sandwich main ingredient are bologna sausage, 2 pieces of white bread, mayonnaise, mustard and ketchup. Later, many new condiments added according to their choices. For example, cheese slices, pickles, tomatoes and onions. Bologna sandwich ingredients are improvised from time to time.
I reckon if there's anything you ought to know about cooking, it's this. The most important invention since they put mayonnaise in the jar.
Crisco fried chicken was mentioned in the movie The Help. Crisco vegetable fat and buttermilk are used as the main ingredients to give the right taste and make the perfect crispy and juicy fried chicken. After the chicken is marinated, it is then shaken in a bag of flour to be coated. This recipe comes from the Southern African Americans. Fried okra is one of the menu that was created by African Americans. Okra cultivation was originated from Africa and was brought to America by African slaves. They brought along the recipe to America, and fried okra is one of the prominent food among the people. Mac and cheese was known as macaroni pudding in southern Connecticut. The food only requires macaroni and cheese, and maybe a few herbs and seasoning. In present days, mac and cheese is available worldwide, and the ingredients can be easily obtained from grocery nearby. Food and literature are proven to be equally important because food represents us as human beings and the uniqueness of our heritage and culture. Both aspects intertwine to form a great art of expression in all eras and cultures.
So, ladies, what would you like to have?